Welcome to the Horror Unmasked podcast,
where we unmask the monsters
and explore the lore.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Lily, and today we will be dissecting
Pet Semetary.
Let's bury the body.
The Creed family moves from Chicago to the small town of Ludlow, Maine. They end up befriending their elderly neighbor, Judd.
I love Judd.
Who takes them to the Pet Semetary behind their new home.
What a great way to invite, to welcome you to the neighborhood.
It's also just creepy. Why is there a pet cemetery behind my home?
Mm-hmm.
Later, Lewis is working at the University of Maine when a young student named Victor Pascal is brought in with severe injuries from a car accident.
You can see his whole brain.
Yeah. Like leaking.
Yeah.
Victor dies.
Surprise.
But not before warning Lewis of the Pet Semetary.
Mm-hmm.
That night, Victor visits Lewis, warning him about the burial ground beyond the Pet Semetary. Church, a cat owned by Lewis's daughter, Ellie.
Which also, by the way, is named after Winston Churchill.
Yeah, it's Winston.
And I don't understand
Churchill.
how a 4 or 5-year-old baby was, able to.
Well, she's he's
European. What do you mean? He's the prime minister of.
I don't know.
Why Winston Church? Okay, whatever. I'm not gonna question it.
People.
I laughed so hard when I found that out, though.
So this cat Church is killed by a truck on the road in front of their house.
Yeah, I don't like it.
While Rachel, his wife, and 2 kids, Ellie and Gage, are in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Judd takes Lewis to an ancient Micmac Indian burial ground, the real cemetery, to bury the cat. The next day, Church is now alive, but is twisted by being buried in the cemetery.
The following spring, Lewis's toddler son, Gage, is killed by a truck on the same road. The family is overwhelmed with grief, especially Rachel, who seems unable to get past the initial shock. Lewis considers burying Gage in the Micmac ground. Judd tries to stop him from doing it, telling him about a young man from town, Timmy Baderman, who died in service during World War II, and how his father placed his son's body into the Micmac burial ground, only to have it reanimate and terrify the townsfolk.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to move through the family's depression, Rachel plans to visit her parents in Chicago. Rachel begs Lewis to go with her and Ellie, but he declines. While they are gone, Lewis heads to the cemetery Gage is buried in to dig up his son's body.
So fucked up.
Terrible idea.
And he's broken.
Yes.
This is a broken man.
Mm-hmm.
Because he also blames himself because he looked away.
Yeah.
But also, why the fuck?
Why'd you move into a house
right next to
a highway where trucks just come barreling down?
But also just
with 2
if you know
children.
You have a toddler that's that little and wanders,
leash.
Maybe just don't, you build a fence. You put up a fence.
Yeah.
That they can't go past.
Yes.
That's the first thing I would have done. I'd be
all
right, we're building a fence.
Yeah, that was my first idea. I watched that and I was like, okay, well, that truck is going way too fucking fast. A fence should be going up.
Yeah. Immediately.
But whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's on them.
Yeah.
He's met at the graveyard by Pascal, who warns him not to do it. Ellie has a nightmare that Pascal warned her.
Pax-cow.
Pascal. Oh, yeah. That's what, yeah. Ellie has a nightmare that Pascal warned her that her dad is going to do something really bad. And that he is trying to help because Louis tried to save his life when Pascal's soul discorporated from his body.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel realizes who her daughter is talking about and calls Judd after Louis does not answer the phone. She asks if he has seen Louis and then tells him she is returning.
Also, just the fact that the daughter essentially for the whole time has been like having premonition dreams.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck is that about?
Mm-hmm. She's supernatural.
For real.
She's got the shine.
The shine. Yeah. Spoiler warning. Skip ahead. Louis takes Gage's body to the Micmac burial ground, buries him, and goes back home and falls asleep. Gage.
So fucked up.
I know, right? Like, this too much. Gage later arrives and goes to his father's room, removing a scalpel from one of his bags. Gage enters Judd's house and kills him.
Not Judd.
Rachel arrives home and hears something from Judd's house. She goes in and finds Gage, and as she tries to hug him, he kills her. Louis wakes up to find Gage's muddy footprints on the floor, his doctor bag open, and his scalpel gone. He receives a call from Gage saying, "Come play with me, Daddy. First I played with Judd, and then I played with Mommy. We had an awful good time. Now I want to play with you."
Ugh.
And he prepares shots of morphine. Louis heads to Judd's house, running into church. He then kills him with a shot of morphine and then heads into the house.
Louis searches the house, only to have Rachel's corpse fall from the attic, hanged by her neck. How a baby did that, who knows?
Supernatural terror.
Yes. Gage attacks, but Louis injects him with morphine, killing him. Louis then sets the house on fire, carrying his wife's body out. Pascal watches and tells Louis he is sorry and not to bury Rachel in the same place. Louis replies that he waited too long with Gage and that it will work with his wife because she just died. Louis walks through Pascal, who vanishes screaming. At home, how does he set the house on fire and then...
He does he sets gas. He probably undid her and then did the gas and then just took her as he
No, this
lit it.
part. At home, Louis waits.
Yeah, because he buried her. And then he goes home.
Whose house did he set on fire?
Judd's.
Right.
He went into Judd's house.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. At home, Louis waits, and at midnight, Rachel comes through the kitchen door. She coos, "Darling," and the two embrace, kissing, as it is revealed that her face is ravaged and oozing fluid. I would not kiss that. Sorry. Rachel reaches for a steak knife on the kitchen table and stabs Louis.
The end. This man was so desperate.
So desperate. 3 times he thought it would work.
For real.
3
I mean,
times.
the first time it was Judd showing him.
Yeah. But I don't know why he would do that.
Because it was him.
Like, Judd, come on,
Especially, what's even more bullshit is Judd being like, well, I remember when I did that with my dog and he came back real fucked up, so I had to kill him again. I'm like, well, then why would you have me bury my... Why?
I liked your accent. That was very, very reminiscent to Judd.
I could literally just go to the store, buy another cat.
Yeah, that looks like...
And then just bring it home and be like, that's church. If I really wanted to be like, this kid does not need to know what death is yet. Then I could just fake that shit real fast.
Yeah, but it seems like she could probably be very comfortable with that. Now her whole family is dead.
Literally. She's now an orphan.
Orphan. Because Lewis
is a fucking idiot.
Yes.
Anyway, this movie was released April 21st, 1989. The director is Mary Lambert.
A girl!
Yep.
A woman!
Adapted from Pet Semetary, the book.
By?
Stephen Kingus.
The man, the myth, the legend.
The man, the legend.
We are fans of him here.
Yeah, if you can tell. And distributed by Paramount Pictures. What do you got? Because I got no money, I got no profits, I got nothing.
I got you. I got lots of things.
Beautiful.
Budget.
Yes.
11.5 million.
Okay.
So, pretty good.
Yeah.
Actually.
Not bad.
Box office, 89.5 million.
That's not bad, especially for the time. That's not bad.
Yes, because it came out in 89. So the fact that it made 89.
Yeah.
Booyah.
Hell yeah.
If I made $1 million every year, I'd be
set.
so good.
I'd be fucking set as shit, man.
Oh, yeah. And what I found ironic was this movie and the last movie had the exact same runtime of 1 hour and 43 minutes.
Oh, wow. That's
super fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 58%, which...
It's okay. I think it could be, like, maybe a little higher.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
Like...
I agree. Yeah.
Like, in, like, maybe, like, 65 or, like...
Yeah.
If we want to, like, push it 68. Like, I could
That
see
sounds
it,
like a right number.
you know?
Yeah.
Because it's not a bad film. It really isn't a bad film.
No, I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. I liked it better than Van Helsing.
Well, Van Helsing is like
it's very specific.
Van Helsing's also very, like, novella,
Yes.
romantic,
It is very
chaos. It's,
yeah.
you know, it's kind of in the same vein as fucking the Bram Stoker's Dracula that we watched.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very same vibe. Same vibe. You just have
You're in it for the titties. Come on.
You're in it for the attractive people you get to watch.
Yes.
And to, you know, two people who are very pretty, just
being very passionate towards each other.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
for
it.
real. And then the occasional comic relief.
Yes.
Of the sidekick.
Yes.
So yeah, that's essentially what that is. But yeah.
And the occasional really cool effect, but then also the occasional like, what the fuck effect was that?
What the fuck was that? Yeah.
Anyway, kill count. 8.
So it's the cat.
Got the cat. You got Victor.
You've got Victor, the cat. You've got
The mom.
The son.
Yeah.
Judd.
That one girl, Missy. Is her name Missy?
Missy? I think so.
I think that's her name. Missy, and then one other person.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
But that's also still 7. So what the fuck? Well, I guess they're counting Lewis. And maybe they're counting.
Yeah.
And maybe like in a quote. Oh, they might be. Okay, here's what they might be doing. They might be also adding Tommy and his dad into all of the mix of all of that. Because technically they died and then came back. So
yeah.
That's a strong chance.
But yeah, there's that. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. Pardon me. Now we go on to our lovely cast. Dale Midkiff, Lewis, Fred Gwyn. I'm going with Gwyn. Gwyn. I still want to say Gwyn. Fred Gwyn. Judd. What was that weird noise that just came from my mouth? I hope you hear that when you edit it.
Oh, I will, and I will leave it in if I hear it. Promise you that.
Thank you. All right.
If I ever get a good mouth noise from you, I always leave it in. intentionally.
You know, I went to work.
Okay, that's a way to start it. I'm okay. You went to work.
I went to work. And, you know, HHN Scare Acting, we do this thing where it's like gather around the circle and tell us how many years you've been doing this, your name, and a fun thing about you.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously I went with my podcast.
Yeah.
Because, duh, promotion. Yeah. So later, like a couple weeks in, I had a couple people like asking me about it. And then I don't know how we got on the topic, but oh my God. There was something going on where I had a lot of spit in my mouth.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, yeah, my cousin calls it my wham.
Mm-hmm.
And I, you know, in hindsight, maybe not the best thing to say at work, but there have been so many things that have been said in that break room that were so much worse.
Oh, yeah.
But it was so funny because then they were all like, we're going to go through this podcast and just specifically look for
Your mouth noises.
Your mouth noises. Yeah. And I was like, oh no. Why did I?
Your wet ass mouth.
My wet ass mouth.
You just always have so much saliva happening in there.
So much saliva in my mouth at all times.
Like, damn, bitch, shit.
I don't know.
Cottonmouth who?
What? That's the ironic part.
Yeah.
Because I get that bad.
Which is wild. It's like your body's trying to compensate.
Probably. Maybe. Maybe.
She's too wet. We got to dry this bitch out. Like a cotton ball, motherfucker.
Well, apparently they have these like little like mint things that you can put in your mouth that'll like activate your saliva.
You don't need that.
Well, you know, if I ever get cotton mouth,
if I get it, then I could use it.
Then I could use it. Also, I feel like I kind of want to just sit and like
just see what happens.
Yeah. With my already really wet mouth. Like when I'm feeling
that's a wild indie film. Just like us, just have the camera on you and you're just like just to see what happens. And then someone comes in and just puts one of these tablets just to watch it like explode.
Yeah. And like I want to do this experiment because I want to do it like when I feel my mouth is very watery.
Like a favorite food that would like or candy that makes your mouth water. Just like that's an indie film in the making.
It would literally be pooling out of my mouth, like just
all over. We'll have to put
a
bib on you.
A bib for sure. Oh my God. Anyway, enough about.
Back to the cast.
My wet mouth. Mike Hughes as Gage, who was a little toddler and now is a grown man.
Yep.
Denise Crosby as Rachel.
Yep.
And then we have Blaze Burdall as Ellie. And then do you have Victor?
Yes.
I forgot him.
Brad Greenquist is Victor.
Victor Pascal.
Yep. Alrighty.
Give me your notes.
Let me begin.
Is that it?
That is literally my notes. It's a small amount. Because the special effects stuff that was happening inside the film wasn't too extreme. Like, it wasn't, like...
They had some good stuff, though.
Super crazy, technologically advanced or anything, or requiring a whole lot. Like, their prosthetic work was very good. I can say that. But there were some things. There was some things that I think I have in here. If not, I will talk about it. So... Which is something in here that's actually kind of interesting because it's relevant to regards to a black and white film that I hope in 2026 we will add onto our list. But, all right. Mary Lambert, our lovely director, had originally just mainly directed music videos.
Wow.
So she directed Janet Jackson's Nasty.
Okay, girl.
Madonna's Like a Prayer, amongst others. So when she took the job to helm Pet Semetary...
This is very different.
It was her second feature film after 1987's Ellen Barkin starred Siesta. But Lambert had read the Stephen King book about the Creed family. And then, so in 1989, VFX was not an option.
Yeah.
So instead, she leaned on a crew that included art director Dins Danielson, a physical effects team led by Peter Chesney, and for the resurrected feline, animal wranglers Brian McMillan and Scott Hart. So it was definitely, again, a more physical versus VFX main film. So in the movie, there is a creepy painting. This is in reference to Rachel and her history with her sister. So there's a whole undertone in the film.
Did we watch the same film?
Yeah, Rachel.
Okay.
She like confesses about her sister.
Right.
There you go.
I forgot about that.
You forgot. There's a
whole subplot.
There's a whole subplot.
And it's actually crazy.
There's a whole subplot of Rachel having an issue with her family because like it's the reason why Lewis doesn't like her parents.
Yes.
And refuses to spend time with them.
Which is a valid reason, but at the same time, don't make your wife go through that by herself.
I mean, but Rachel, there's a whole subplot of Rachel and how she had a sister who had horrific bodily deformations and things like that. In the actual film, it's portrayed by actually an adult male.
Oh.
In prosthetic and costume work.
Okay.
Because
that's crazy. Didn't even know. But thinking back at it, that makes a lot of sense.
So this is referencing that kind of backstory. So there's a big painting that's kind of like a Victorian kid with a cat. And it's so paintings like that are a big part of early American pictorial. So old oil paintings like that used to be done all the time because they were, and also, again, just letting you know, this was a real practice that real people did, is that they would have portraits done or paintings done of their passed away family.
But they would
dress them up and put them in a certain way so that they
while they were
at least in
dead.
photography. In the photography portion, that was different. In paintings, it was probably easier to fiddle with a little bit of it. But in paintings and photography, yes, they'd be positioned, being held up in a certain way to photograph them. And so same situation.
Which is
exactly.
Crazy.
And this painting is that old school early American portraiture because there was such a high mortality rate amongst infants. And it is of like a young toddler, I would say. A blonde young toddler. They didn't have photography, as I said, back then. So a lot of people had portraits painted of their children after they died so they could remember them.
Which is,
questionable.
Very. But when you think about
the time period,
it was probably very normal.
It was definitely very normal, but it was also not normal to constantly get images taken of you or portraits painted of you. Like nowadays, technology makes it so easy that instead of, you wouldn't photograph your dead child, you would just look at a photo that you took of them when they were alive.
I mean,
to see them.
Unless for some reason you never have taken a picture of your child.
And 9 times out of 10, they don't do that either. That's like, they won't take pictures of the dead. It's definitely on the more taboo side now.
Yeah.
Than it used to be.
It's kind of messed up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But only because we only think that because of the technology we have now.
Yes.
So.
Yes. So, a lot of people had portraits painted of their children after they died so they could remember them. It was painted especially for this movie, this
Mhm.
painting. Marlene Stewart, the costume designer, designed the costumes that they were going to put on Gage in the end of the movie. And they had the artist paint the child in that costume. So, and in flashbacks, you'll notice that Zelda, Rachel's late sister, who died as a toddler, is in that costume. It's creepy because in the painting of a dead child dressed up as an adult in fancy clothing that reflects reality, they were trying to plant the connection between Gage and Zelda subliminally in the movie, because at the end of the movie, Gage is dressed up like the child in the portrait.
That's crazy.
And there's also a cat in the portrait. So it's literally a foreshadow of things because it's a painting of a dead child.
That's actually brilliant.
And because there's the whole flashbacks that happen a couple times throughout the film in reference to Zelda, because that's the breaking point for Rachel.
Right.
So obviously, also, there was not CGI at the time.
No.
And throughout the movie, whenever you saw Church, his eyes glowed very specifically. That was done in camera. Cats, obviously, if you don't know, have retinas that reflect light. So they have a shiny coat that's on the back of their eyes. Not a lot of animals have this attribute, but cats do. So they put a light directly above the camera lens. So when they were shooting with the cats, it would reflect into the camera.
So cool. Paid actor.
Because here's the thing. Cats are on the more difficult side to train. Not impossible, but are able to be trained. They ended up using 9 different cats.
Wow.
That
looked like one cat.
They had a jumper, a snarler, and a cuddler.
Oh, the cuddler.
They had a cat for everything that they needed. So, and the scene when Lewis has to kill Church, the needle he was using was rigged to look like he was sticking it into the cat. In reality, the cat was sedated by a veterinarian with a representative of American Humane present, so that they were able to shoot the scene with no problems, and the cat made a full recovery. So they were very diligent in making sure the safety of the animal.
Still don't like it, but that's fine.
Yes, same, because
just
cats.
use a retractable fucking needle. Thank you.
But it's more so the problem of, well, the needle's fake. The needle, what they were saying was fake. But in order to get the result at the time, nowadays it's a little easier to get the results that you want.
Yeah.
And they have a lot more capabilities with special effects and things like that to make a false animal if you need to. So, for the reanimated children,
that was very interesting to me.
They used a combination of puppets and special physical effects.
Because I knew where it was going.
Yes.
And I was like, how are they going to do that?
Yes. So the actor who played Gage was 2.5 years old.
So he's just a baby.
They used puppets in some places for him. Anytime there was blood, that was a puppet. Because obviously they didn't want to traumatize the child. Yeah. So
also, I was like, it was very interesting because going into it, I was like, how are they going to make this child do things? And then I was like, I feel like this is going to feel kind of Chucky-like.
I was literally about to fucking say that. I was like, there are moments where it's very Chucky.
Yes. And it's true.
There are 100% moments that
ended
are
up
definitely
being just like that.
Very Chucky.
I mean, it's not terrible.
No, not terrible. But it's clear that they were trying to make it so that it wasn't the kid who was involved in some of the scenes.
Which is good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
And then before filming, Lambert and King actually had searched all summer long for the perfect house with a tree in front of it. Well, they found the perfect tree in a field and had it dug up and replanted at the house that they were filming.
That's funny.
It's the tree that Ellie was swinging on at the beginning of the movie.
And then
So they literally
Mm-hmm.
transplanted a tree to the house.
That's crazy.
To make it more accurate to what they wanted.
It didn't even look like it had been dug up at all. They did good.
Nope. They did a real good job with that. But yeah, that's all of my notes. So what do you have for me?
I have a couple things. First, I'm going to talk about a little bit on how Mr. King came up with this idea.
Got you.
So, it's actually basically exactly how he grew up.
Oh, wow.
So he was a writer in residence at the University of Maine.
Gotcha.
Living in a rented house that bordered a major truck route, which frequently claimed the lives of dogs and cats. And in the woods behind his house, the local children had created a pet cemetery.
Oh, wow.
So it literally...
He literally was like, my life fits a movie.
Yes. Yeah. One day his daughter's cat, Smucky, was killed by a truck.
Wild. And
so he was faced with the task of burying the cat and then had to explain to his daughter what had happened.
Yeah.
But he said it was the third day after he buried the cat that the idea came to him. And he was like, what would happen if a young family were to lose their daughter's cat to a passing truck? And then like just the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he was like, he said he could remember crossing the road and thinking the cat had been killed in the road. And what if a kid died in that road? And had they experienced that and they had to just grab their son and pull them back, and then everything just kind of came together.
Yeah.
And he knew immediately that it was a novel.
Yeah, I mean, shit.
I mean, that was just...
Fucking writers, man.
Yeah, they come up with...
everything on the spot.
Everything. But also, he said that after dreaming that night of a reanimated corpse walking up and down the road outside of his house, he began to think about funerals and the modern customs surrounding death and burial, which added to it. But he also said that this was his only novel he wrote that really scared him, which is crazy because he's written over 70
Because I don't know if you have it, but wasn't it that he originally wasn't going to publish it?
Yep. Yeah. It was, he said, hold on. Yeah. When he first wrote the manuscript, he put it up because his friends and his family hated it. So he originally wasn't gonna put it out, but he did.
Because his wife found it.
No. That one was, what was the last Stephen King thing we did?
It? No.
Carrie.
Oh,
that was Carrie.
Like, I knew that this was also one of them that they were talking about and were like, publish it, man.
Yeah.
I did think she also encouraged him to publish this one.
Mm-hmm. Probably.
I would.
It's most likely.
Because to let some people in your family be like, nah, it's not. No.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not a good enough.
Right. But, this literally was his life because he said the character, like Judd, was based on the elderly neighbor that lived across the road from him.
Oh, okay.
So it's literally he took his life
and then gave him character names,
twisted it a little bit,
yeah,
and then added a supernatural element and called it a day.
Yeah.
But I bet this book is forever long because that's how he does it, and I don't know. He also made a cameo in this movie. If you didn't know. It was very short, but he was the minister.
Yeah.
Yeah, he literally popped on screen, and I was like, that's Stephen King. That's him. Anywho, that's the background of that. Now I'm going to get into the real good stuff that I'm so excited to talk about. I don't know what it is, but I think this is one of my favorite creepy supernatural things.
And what's that?
And you know, and when I say it, you're going to agree with me.
Yeah.
while this movie didn't really focus on this aspect of the book, the mythology behind the Wendigo
Oh, yes.
is actually in the novel.
Wendigos!
Wendigos!
I love Wendigos.
I love Wendigos.
I love Wendigos.
I'll say it.
Fucking Until Dawn. Fuck me up, man.
Until Dawn. It really did it.
That was it, man.
I think that was like,
Such a fascinating.
yeah. And I think that's also like peak when I really solidified my love of horror.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that.
Yeah.
So good. So it's suggested that in the past, the Micmac
Mm-hmm.
tribe history turned to cannibalism
Oh, okay.
to survive, leading the Wendigo to curse their burial grounds and make sure the ground is sour, which led to the dead coming back to life and the Micmacs abandoning the area. That's in the book.
That's awesome.
So, Wendigos separately. A little backstory about them
And them as an entity.
as an entity outside of this book.
Mm-hmm.
They are a legitimate supernatural legend.
Yep.
Um,
Not on the same level as a cryptid.
no.
But they're like cryptid adjacent. They are a spiritual creature.
Yes.
But
I feel like
they're like next door neighbors to cryptid.
yeah. So you're talking like Mothman and
Yeah.
and the skin
Like the Jersey Devil and stuff like a lot of those are creatures, but they're all cryptid, like Bigfoot and all that kind of stuff. They're all cryptids.
yeah.
But the Wendigo is very specifically a spiritual creature. It's a creature on like the truest form versus a cryptid.
And if you just heard me go cannibalism and went, huh?
Oh yeah.
Let me get into it, baby.
That's their thing, man.
Let me get into it. So, this mythological being is central to the spiritual traditions of the Algonquin-speaking First Nations in North America.
Yep.
So, it's very North American based.
Yes.
This creature is depicted as a cannibalistic monster, which embodies themes of greed, isolation, the breakdown of social bonds. They are said to prey on the weak and disconnected, and humans can transform into them through greed and extreme conditions like hunger and cold, or even possession by an evil spirit during moments of vulnerability. Which is why Until Dawn is
Fascinating.
perfect and beautiful.
Yeah. Because it's exactly that.
It's exactly that.
It
And
100% focuses on that.
It focuses on that, but in multiple instances of that.
Yes.
So
In
it's
different versions of it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a good game. Go play it, guys.
It very much is.
Play
And
it
you
again. It's still beautiful.
can- yeah, you can play it and play it again, and you can
Do all sorts
make
of
new choices and discover new things. It's so good.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
For the end. For the end.
Okay.
Because you're gonna be
okay.
so fucking excited.
Thank God. Okay. So, as for what they look like, if you're curious, descriptions of Wendigos, they vary a lot. I really do love the depiction from Until Dawn.
Yes.
I think that is...
I think it's a very fascinating. I know often it's the alternative, and I think I know I know the version that a lot of people tend to visualize that's different.
well, what is that version?
So a lot of the time, the version of a Wendigo that is most often depicted is usually some sort of deer, like skeletal deer head with antlers. Obviously bipedal. Sometimes they can have like fur on the top of them a little bit, and then it kind of like all spreads out to the feet can either be humanoid or more hoof-like, and then their arms are always very long and
their limbs are
very
super long.
It's very slender, very emaciated. That's
Yes.
the biggest thing, is it's always heavily emaciated. The rib cage is always extremely pronounced. Sometimes they have tails, sometimes they do not have tails, but the bigger thing is it's always usually some sort of skeletal head with antlers. It's always been seen as that, at least when you look up, if you just Google Wendigo, you're
Yeah,
gonna see
you're
that.
gonna see that. Yeah.
Nowadays, you might also see in the mix the version that was displayed in Until Dawn, which I'm assuming you have the description of.
Actually, what you said is what I have the description of. It's the skeletal or ash-colored creatures with glowing eyes,
Yes.
sharp teeth,
Always
antlers or
glowing eyes, yeah.
horns. But they also have superhuman strength, speed,
Yes.
heightened senses,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can hunt and overpower their victims
Yes.
pretty easily. But in some legends, Wendigos grow larger as
Yes.
they consume more flesh.
Yes.
But I really like the idea of like,
Because the Until Dawn is very different.
yeah,
It's
they're still kind of
humanoid.
skeletal.
They're
it's-
still very humanoid.
Yeah, but they are so emaciated that it is very skeletal-like because they're so thin and long, like their limbs are longer. And
in the game, they describe it as if like the skin essentially is pulling back and
yes.
away from the bones.
Mm-hmm.
So certain features become more angular.
Mm-hmm.
They become elongated. Their spine stretch, their whole bodies deform and stretch and become elongated. They end up in this like grayish, like very pale skin, very grayish skin,
very sharp teeth,
but they may retain certain markings or things like that,
tattoos.
like tattoos and stuff like that on their body, because they were people that turned into these creatures. Because they, their eyes go snowblind because at least in Until Dawn, they're considered blind.
Yeah, they can't really. They can see temperature.
They see temperature, and motion. Motion's a big one. Very like, it's that whole concept of like prey. It's heat sensing and it's motion based.
But they're so scary, man.
They are. They're very
so
terrifying.
Scary. If I
Especially
ever
when
come
you
across
realize
a
that one of
Wendigo,
them is
I'm
an
gonna take
old friend.
myself out before it gets to me.
Especially when you realize that one of them is an old friend.
That shit hurts.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
so cultural significance.
Yes.
Wendigo legends served as cautionary tales, emphasizing the importance of community and the dangers of selfishness and greed, going back to that. In the harsh northern forests, survival very much depended on sharing resources.
Yes.
Because, hunting in harsh winters, you're not going to find a lot of resources if you're living up north.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're living in a big community where the ground is frozen and you can't grow any crops, and the only thing you have is these bears and these, I don't know, deer.
It's also a reference. It's also a reference to the idea of stay on well-treaded paths. Don't deviate, because it's the idea of there's stories like real life story events that have occurred where people have decided like, oh, let's all try to take this quicker route to somewhere, and it's through winter, and they resort to cannibalism because they've become so lost in their path.
Yes.
It's the idea that, stick to the well-trodden paths, because you don't know what danger could lie in taking something that is unknown.
Yes, for sure. But it was also people who would show that side of greed and hoard all of the who hoarded food and abandoned other people, metaphorically were like these Wendigos.
Yes.
Which is also can be put into modern interpretations.
Oh yeah.
So more capitalist,
more
ideals.
The richer you are and the less you are to spend your money leads you towards that.
Yeah. But there's a story called A Wendigo Tale, which and other works by actual indigenous creators where these legends come from, but those stories reflect these deeper meanings that Wendigos have. But Wendigos have only recently really gained recognition in Western media, like in films and video
Even though
games.
they are a they're such a
They're
fascinating
so
creature.
fascinating. Yes, I agree.
They're absolutely fascinating. That in an entire culture, like, it's fascinating regardless. Like, any mythical creature that has been birthed from a culture of people that you can walk up to and talk to
And you can
and interact
actively
with,
see.
like, it's fascinating
Yeah.
to realize that the explanation for something was this incomprehensible being that is the cause of this.
This kind of.
It's why I love mythical creatures and things like that so much, because it's just it's mind-blowing how someone came up with it. And there's levels of it where you're like, but wait, could it be real? Because how do you make that up?
Right. How do you make that up? How do multiple people across your culture have such strong beliefs in this one thing?
And all the same visual depiction.
Visual, yes. That one.
How do you all say that's what a Wendigo looks like?
Right.
That's what it does. And all of you know it.
And all of you agree.
It's like a phoenix.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you think phoenix, you know what you see.
What fascinates me about this, like, I think it's also why I like this one show. I know we were talking about it earlier, Yellow Jackets.
Yeah.
Girl. I think I like this show so much because I feel like it goes into the theme of Wendigo very well. Like, also the, okay, Yellow Jackets. I'm just gonna give you a little preface.
Yeah, because I've not.
You have no idea.
What is it on?
It's on, the first season is on Netflix, and the
Gotcha.
second season is on Paramount.
Okay.
The third season is coming out on Paramount as well.
Okay,
in
gotcha.
February. But it's very good. It's about this group of high school girls who are on their way to soccer nationals, and their plane crashes in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
And they're stranded out there
Gotcha.
for a very long time.
Oh, shit.
So,
Yeah.
And it's up north.
Gotcha.
So you can kind of...
It's making me think of, like, Lost, when Lost was a big thing.
Yeah, for sure. But
even though that got wild on a level that, like, maybe it really shouldn't have. But
like, and it dabbles kind of with supernatural, but not really. It's more like
the psychological effects of isolation,
which I was talking to my girlfriend about this, and she basically made a really good point where it was they become not the best reliable narrators.
Yes.
Because they're kind of losing their minds in the woods.
Honestly, stories that have an unreliable narrator are always fascinating.
Always fascinating. But it also very much goes into this theme of, hoarding food or abandoning others makes you like a Wendigo, and when you need to survive in harsh northern forests and need to share resources.
You want to know what? You want to know something? Okay. I have to pull it up because I have to make sure that I say it right, that I say the right title of the book. So, I've been on a kick of listening to Darcy Coates. I fucking love her. I've been listening to her. She does a lot of, like, haunted buildings and really great stories. I finished a 4-part series that I was like, I don't know what to do with myself now. So I had to just grab one of her other books that just had, like, a collection of stories inside of it. And it's called Ghost Camera, is what the overarching book is called. And towards the end of the book, there's a chapter that's a story, and it follows the story of a plane crash. It's a story about a plane crash. There's a girl who's on the plane who's going to a wedding, and the plane crashes in the mountains somewhere.
Yep.
And she becomes very familiar with a woman who was sitting next to her. She was mesmerized by her beauty for some reason. Like, she just couldn't stop staring at her, and wanting to get to know her. When the plane crashes and she wakes up, she finds that her whole plane pretty much, other than her, is dead.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, this woman that she had such a fascination with appears. She had an injury where she lost an arm, so there was this whole situation. But it follows the story about the fact that she was like a researcher, that the woman that she was fascinated by is a researcher that was going to this mountain to research these creatures that live in holes in the mountain. And they are deformed. There's a version of them that is the animalistic, don't look at them, ignore them. If they make sounds or vocalizations, they sometimes can mimic people.
No, I'm okay.
Which is another aspect of Wendigos. At least in Until Dawn, they express that they mimic the sound of humans.
That's right.
But when you listen close enough, they don't have any actual words to them.
Yeah.
So that was this whole chapter was about her traveling to the other part of the plane to try to get to the radio, but following this woman researcher who, quote, 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 she was supposed to be going out to that location to meet up with other researchers to study. So she was able to guide her to this other place, and they had walked through this area where there were holes in the ground for where these creatures lived, and she peered down and just saw all these reflected eyes coming back at her.
That also sounds very like The Watchers.
But also, this researcher mentions that there is a benevolent version of them, but this version of them usually shows themselves as a like a white rabbit. But the difference between regular rabbits and them that you can distinguish is that they don't blink. And so she gets to this. I
don't like that.
All the way.
You don't blink?
To the other part of the plane, and she's able to communicate and be like, "Hey, I need help. I'm a survivor. This is like, we're probably roughly this far away from wherever, this is the whatever." And then this woman helps to guide her back, but she's also starting to lose capabilities and things like that. But there's this, she always mentions that she like wanted to be friends with her. She wished that she could be a survivor with her. But she knows that she's dying, quote, from the blood loss from the arm. And when they finally start to get back to and here's the other thing, is usually the shy ones, they're shy. The benevolent ones are usually shy. They're harder to find, harder to be around. And they usually, you can see them like in the tree line because they kind of stay off to their own. Whereas these other creatures will come for you, and they're lanky and horrific.
Yes.
It's a part of me that believes that maybe they were inspiration for the 4-part series, The Creatures, called The Hollows, because they were deformed humans who became these very Wendigo-like, where they, were hunger-based and were more animalistic and stretched out and deformed creatures. But they get back to the other half of the original half of the plane, and there are people looking for survivors. And as our main character is ready to go, she says goodbye and she starts to walk away, and as she turns back to the tree line, she sees a white rabbit. So the whole time the woman that was helping her was a benevolent version, trying to help her survive the encounter with the other one. Because she guided her the whole way. So she was a safety barrier to keep her alive.
That's cool.
And so it's fascinating because it also very much speaks on the idea of how Wendigos are with the mimicking voice and this like hunger-based need. But even thinking about the other book series, the Dark Winter series, which was the one that I had read, that was a 4-part, and there's a whole creature called the Hollows, and they're literally, there's a reveal that's pretty interesting about how they became, but they become animalistic and lose their humanity. Some retain their intelligence, but the majority of the time they're these animalistic, like horrifically shaped, morphed people, and there's that touch of the Wendigo in there that's very fascinating.
I just didn't think that I'd ever get to talk about Wendigos. And I'm so
You're
happy
welcome.
that I can. Thank you. I mean, it's not like Pet Semetary is about Wendigos at all, but the novel mentions them and talks about
So
the
how
Micmacs.
close, question, are you to the end of your notes?
I'm like I'm done.
Okay.
Hold on.
When you're done, tell me.
Okay. But the remake definitely has a little more to do with the Wendigos than the 1989 version is what I hear. But because it suggested that, you know, the Micmac tribe turned to cannibalism for survival, and the novel talks more about the Wendigos, I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to talk about it. Now, please tell me what you're trying to tell me, because I'm done.
Okay. Next year,
Mm-hmm.
which I might have to alter something.
Mm.
Next year,
Mm-hmm.
they are making Until Dawn as a movie.
And I didn't know.
And it comes out April 25th.
Next year? That's in 5 months. Where are the ads for this? Where is the promotion? Where is anything? I must know. Why wasn't I able to work on this movie? Because I would have loved to. You know?
And it is, they already have Peter Stormare as Dr. Alan J. Hill. They do have, it looks like there's a bit of a different cast shakeup, but again, I don't know. But
because the cast is so good. Like the original one. Are you kidding me? Jordan Fisher, Hayden Panettiere. Are you kidding? That one guy, Mike, I forget like the actor's name, but he's also really good. Oh, Emily, the girl who plays Emily, love.
But because right now, currently, they only have 8 cast members listed. They only have 8. So I'm curious to see how it's going to shake out.
Also, why April 25th? Why not like in the winter time? You know what I mean?
But I might have to alter something on our list to compensate that. But you might just
Then what
get
do I
to talk about.
I just talked about Wendigos.
You might get to talk about some more things.
Wendigo like. I like it. Okay, word. Also, guys, don't think I have some weird fascination with cannibalism. I don't.
You can just like Wendigos.
I like Wendigos. Thank you. It's just because
I love Mothman. That doesn't mean I like destruction.
It's just because,
I mean,
you
I
know,
like
Yellow
destruction, but not the
Jackets may
same
have
kind.
a bit of something.
You
And
know?
that's all I'll say.
But as in the bees? Because I was stung by hundreds of them
Oh, God.
as a child.
No, I'm talking about the show.
No, I know. I was stung by hundreds of them, and I actually know what yellow jackets smell like.
Ooh. Ew. I hate that. A lot. And I'm so sorry.
They smell like warm honey. Like sweet warmth.
As they kill you. Yes. Anyway, that's all I got.
So you got some 1 stars?
I got one.
Alrighty, let's go.
All right. This movie was really hard to watch. Stephen King is famous for his corny cliches and hammy dialogue, and this film delivered all the way.
I'm sorry. Don't besmirch.
Thank you.
No besmirching.
Thank you. Thank you. The characters, with the exception of Fred Gwynn, who must have winced every time he had to say, "Dead is better," were boring and wooden. The child who played Ellie Creed was the most annoying. I'm just glad I didn't waste good money seeing this film at a theater. I found it stupid, corny, and all around not fit for an intelligent mind. But then again, that's how I find most of King's films.
Just disrespect on every level.
And I don't care for the way he exploits the killing of children in his films either. Where does that come from? Maybe if he gave up on the drinking and drugs, he'd come up with something good for a change.
Okay. He's literally already explained, and we know this before, that he literally takes from life examples. This movie's literally based on his own personal life.
Not that anybody died, but, you know, it's very concerning as a parent, you know, when you're
Like,
living that
he
close to a
literally,
highway.
like, expressed a dark alternative to a what if situation.
And he wrote it down. Maybe that's how he dealt with his anxieties about it.
Truly, honestly. I mean, okay. Actors are actors. There's only so far you can go.
Mm-hmm.
The acting wasn't,
I liked it.
it wasn't like
I thought it was
the most amazing thing in the universe, but
No.
it was still good. It was still
Yeah.
like good for what it was.
it was 80s acting.
Yeah, it was
You know
80s
what I mean?
acting.
It was 80s
Also,
acting.
to bitch, clearly you don't have children. Because Ellie was just acting like a kid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ellie was just a baby.
She was just a kid.
Like,
She was just a
what do
kid
you
being a
mean?
kid.
What do you mean she was the most annoying? Like, that's a child. Apparently you don't like them, which, not everybody does, but lay off.
Yeah. Like, that's just a child being a child. But also, just to be disrespectful, like, shut the fuck up.
Not maybe if he gave up on the drinking and the drugs.
Like, fuck off. This man is an effing genius.
Genius. Has almost 80 pieces
That are
of literature.
acclaimed
Multiple of them.
all over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Well, I'll say it again. Have you done that?
Have you?
Interesting. No.
Did you
No.
make such a high grossing story to cause a movie to be like a 400 something crazy ass
The highest grossing horror
Yeah.
film of all time. I will say. No.
Come on, my guys.
You know what he did do? He came on here and wrote a few sentences.
Yep.
And called
Because
it a day.
he's jealous.
Yes.
We can see your jealousy.
I can see it. It's okay.
And oh
It's
well,
fine.
but
It's tough. It's tough to be a bug, ain't it?
Yep.
A roach
But hey,
is what I meant.
at least Until Dawn is going to be a movie next year. Rip headphone users. I am so sorry.
I'm not. I meant that shit.
I saw that and I was like, Lily's going to fucking lose her
I'm
mind.
literally gonna lose my mind.
And then when I found out that you were doing Wendigos, and then I was like, oh my fuck, I realized it. And I was like, you have to tell me when you're done it with your notes because you're going to lose your fucking mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I like, maybe I'll talk about some Wendigo stories.
Hell yeah.
Some Wendigo, get
into
lore.
the legends.
I'm gonna get into the legends, the myths.
Hell yeah.
Maybe I'll say a ghost story.
Fuck yeah.
Talking about Wendigos.
Fuck yeah.
Love it. And then I'll tell you about how I went to Until Dawn and killed every single character in the exact way that I wanted them to die.
But that's for another time.
That's for another time.
Y'all all gotta fucking wait, bitch.
It's actually a lot harder than you'd think.
It is a lot harder than you think.
Because there are many ways that
There are
many
a
of those
lot.
characters can die.
Yep.
And to kill them exactly in the way you want
And if you
them
choose
to
just the
is-
wrong direction to take it, it's over.
You're done.
You're done.
That shows how much I
Yeah.
went into that
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Alrighty. So you're good and ready?
I'm good and ready.
All right. Next week is Friday the 13th.
Blah, blah.
But also, we're doing Friday the 13th because of timing.
Ta-da! We gonna go get tattoos?
I mean, we can. I ain't working.
You ain't working
No.
on the 13th?
Nope. Nope. Day before, day after.
Word.
But yeah. Alrighty. Send us an email at horrorunmasked@gmail.com. Follow us Instagram, Twitter at horrorunmasked. Listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, Audible, Pandora, and YouTube at Horror Unmasked Podcast. And I think with that,
There's only one thing left to ask. My mouth did a noise again. Will you fear?
or will you fear not?